Okay, thank you. So welcome to the Human Resources Committee meeting for Tuesday, August the 8th, 2023. Attendance has been noted by the clerk. Thank you. Declarations of conflict of interest. Members of the committee, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest for any items appearing on the agenda? Seeing none. May I please have a mover and a seconder to put all items on the floor? Councillor Sullivan. Councillor Sless, thank you. And item 5.1 is automatically separated as there's a presentation on the item. So that leaves us just to approve the minutes. Are there any errors and omissions on the minutes? Seeing none, can I now call the vote on the minutes? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. We have one presentation on the agenda today, so I will now call upon Jeff McPherson to come forward to present on the 2023-2027 People Master Plan. So, Jeff, you have 10 minutes to speak. Questions may be held at the time of debate as per the procedural bylaw.
Great, thank you. Just wait for the presentation. Good afternoon, and I'm pleased to be here this afternoon to discuss the new People Master Plan. Today, I want to highlight the following areas: the People Master Plan's objectives, the City of Brantford context, about building the plan, as well as the strategic focus areas. There are 4 objectives of the People Master Plan. 1, attract and retain a skilled workforce to provide quality services today and in the future, advancing Council's strategic priorities in meeting the challenges of a growing city. 2, provide a safe, supportive, and welcoming work environment. 3, advance and support #Team Brantford culture. And 4, build a resilient organization by committing to continuous learning and proactively mitigating workforce risks. The City of Brantford operates in a competitive labor market with a very low unemployment rate. The city is also experiencing and forecast to have rapid population as well as housing growth, meaning there are and will be increased needs for new and expanding municipal services and for the employees that provide those services. An analysis of the city's workforce found that forecasted retirements are manageable and generally has a younger workforce. This means that staff retention risk is greater than the retirement risk. During our work, we identified a number of strengths. Supportive coworkers was identified as a top reason for retaining of staff and for working at the City of Brantford. We also noted a high-level employee engagement, the organization's commitment to employee safety, the focus on the #Team Brantford culture initiative, a supportive learning and development environment, successful improvement initiatives such as the recruitment and the onboarding systems, and the implementation of the HR business model that has been well received by clients. The plan was built on the findings of an internal scan as well as an external research. The internal scan consisted of extensive stakeholder engagement process of over 70 interviews, a survey of all supervisors and managers, a review of documents, including the recent employee engagement survey, an analysis of current workforce and HR measures. The external research consisted of a benchmark municipal survey, HR leading practice review, and a review of labor market trends. This information was used to identify 5 strategic focus areas for the plan, as well as individual actions and initiatives for each focus area. Also included are suggested performance measures for the plan. The 5 strategic focus areas are advance organizational culture, attraction retention, build employee and organizational capacity, safe, healthy, and inclusive workplace, and modernize HR services. Each strategic focus area was further subdivided in assigned actions. While there are 5 strategic focus areas, it's important to note that they are not standalone. Actions in one area may be dependent on advancing actions in another. The first one, advance organizational culture. Workplace culture is defined as the way employees interact with council, citizens, stakeholders, and each other. It is how they get things done in the approach they use. A positive culture improves an organization's ability to attract new staff, retain staff, higher levels of employee engagement, and performance. We believe defining and creating the desired organizational culture for the city is a key foundational building block for the plan. 4 recommended initiatives are redefine the organizational culture, establish new organizational values and expectations, conduct regular employee engagement surveys and creation of improvement action plans, development of a corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion plan, and continue to advance accessibility initiatives. Progress on these could be measured through the employee engagement scores. The second strategic area is attraction and retention of skilled staff. Recommended initiatives include creating an employer brand and greater use of social media marketing, expanded employment outreach. The initial focus needs to be on relationship building with potential candidate pools and communities. 3, strategic sourcing for hard to fill positions. Greater use of LinkedIn tools is one opportunity to help in this area. Another is to gather and help support employees to become ambassadors or ambassador recruiters. And 4, ensuring competitive pay and benefits. It should be noted that creating a supportive and positive work culture is in and of itself a retention strategy. Progress can be measured by time to fill as well as voluntary turnover rates. The third focus area is building employee and organizational capacity. We believe that an organization's commitment to support learning is a competitive advantage. Resilient organizations leverage the link between learning, performance, and succession planning to mitigate risks associated with workforce change and turnover. Recommended initiatives include 1, strengthen learning initiatives that are already in place and build on them, such as the leadership continuum, develop leadership competencies, and adopt a 70-20-10 learning model. 2, performance optimization, expand the performance objective setting process and focus on supervisory coaching. 3, implement formal succession management program. And 4, strategic workforce planning linked to the introduction of multi-year budgeting. Progress can be measured on the percentage of learning plans in place as well as the creation of a strategic workforce plan. The 4th strategic focus area is safe, healthy, and inclusive workplace. The current state review highlighted that the city has implemented a number of initiatives that have improved the workplace safety practices and employee supports. This plan aims to maintain the improvements and focus future efforts on the area of respectful workplace and employee wellness and mental health. Recommended initiatives include 1, continued focus on the safe workplace in meeting legislative requirements. 2, advancing and supporting respectful workplace initiatives, incorporating respectful workplace in the organizational culture work, as well as reviewing the investigation process. And 3, supporting employee wellness and mental health, utilizing the national standard of Canada for psychological health and safety in the workplace. Progress can be measured by sick leave usage as well as employee engagement scores. The last focus area is modernize the HR services. This plan builds on the strong track record and commitment of the City of Brantford Human Resource Department to improve processes. The focus is on leveraging technology, advanced workforce analytics, and fine-tuning the HR service model. Recommended initiatives include 1, continuing to modernize HR systems and processes, implement the learning management system. 2, improve HR reporting and analytics, providing management staff with greater employee and workforce information through a dashboard. 3, update HR policies and procedures on a regular 4-year basis. And 4, HR service model enhancements, the creation of specialist positions to enhance service and implement actions contained in this plan. And progress can be measured on the status of the implementation of the projects. In closing, we believe some of the benefits of the plan to the organization are a framework for advancing people practices for the next 5 years, focus on organizational culture as a business enabler, improved information for people leaders, continued focus on modernizing HR services and programs, leveraging of strategic workforce planning to support the multi-year budget initiative, and improved retention and retirement risk management. All of these will demonstrate the city's position as a progressive employer in the labor market. Our team wants to thank the City of Brantford project team and all staff who participated on the project through interviews and sharing of information, and I'll be available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And I did read the report, so wanted to thank you for a very well presented plan for the city. So the item is on the floor. Do we have any discussion? Mayor Davis.
Thank you, Jeff, for that presentation, but a couple of questions for you. Have you done this type of work for other municipalities?
Yes, and I've actually been the head of human resources for a large city and implemented 2 different people plans.
Okay. And what role do you think a council subcommittee like an HR committee should have in the HR process? And in particular, do you have any comments upon the terms of reference and the role of our HR committee in the context of your experience and what other municipalities do?
Well, for sure. Maybe first I'll just talk about my experience personally with different large municipalities for sure. It was a relationship with council in terms of doing updates or perhaps giving presentations to council on issues of significance. And what I mean by that, if we had a plan like this, I would do at least an annual update to city council as a whole on the plan and the progress, not a subcommittee. So the work, again, obviously budgetary items were with council, whether they're negotiation mandates, things like that. Subcommittees really were not an avenue for dealing with the HR matters that I'm aware of. When we did the benchmark survey of the 10 municipalities, we did not find a parallel committee to your HR committee. Most of them went through their city councils on different matters, or as my experience, a delegation to the CAO with authority.
And in your experience, what type of issues, so the experience you've had with other municipalities going to council, what type of issues would normally go to council? I'm talking about in an HR context for review and comment by the council.
They were issues of great significance. So one obviously was negotiation updates. That was directly to council. Mandate was to council. An annual update on a plan of a significance, whether it be the recruitment plan or whether it be something like this overall plan and the progress on it, went to council. If we had a very, very significant reorganization, the CAO would take that. Minor reorganizations or shuffling, if some people say repurposing of positions, were typically left with the CAO, as long as it was within budget and no new dollars.
And what metrics would you suggest be provided to council or the HR committee in relation to HR matters that we could use as a governing oversight to make sure that there are no HR issues that might impact the effectiveness and efficiency of the organization?
Well, through our work, we will be providing more, and there's some built into the plan. But for example, my experience with the city council, they were very interested in turnover of employee staff figures, for example. They were also interested in understanding overtime, which was a financial aspect, and sometimes talked about staff resourcing and utilization of those types of things. So those are two very clear examples. I think they also had an expectation, I can tell you, was around time to fill positions, things like that. So there's different measures that are there, and we built some of them into the plan for consideration to be used.
And so I did notice that it is built in your plan. So in particular, what metrics can we expect to see that will be built into this new HR plan?
I want to make sure I'm answering your question, but from my experience, it would have been that you definitely are going to see what is turnover, what's tracked. You're going to see employee engagement figures, although they will be every 2 years, but they're a great way to take a look at them if you continue on to them. I think the other one that's very important too is also, you call it a vacancy rate. So that gives you a sense of where you go and how you can compare. Sick leave stats are always of interest, I think, to city councils when they come through on an annual basis, and how you compare to others. And the Stats Canada provides a wealth of information to do comparisons off of from those. So I think those specifically would be tracked in taking a look and reported on when the plan comes forward, you know, to whichever body.
And what about grievances?
Well, you can track grievances. I'll share my experience as an individual because I was also a director of labor relations and other aspects for organizations. Grievances in and of themselves don't necessarily talk about the quality of the grievance. And depending what's going on at different times, and as you approach perhaps sometimes negotiations, grievance numbers go up, and that's not necessarily reflective of a validity of a grievance. So we always hesitated from that and did not necessarily use that as a reporting, but we did track it because it is an indicator of taking a look of going through. But different organizations may wish to track some of those measures, but I would suggest if you track them, understand that they're a variable that sometimes is not within a control.
Can I ask one more question? Yep. So going back to my original set of questions, which related to the terms of reference of our HR committee, will you be making specific recommendations to council as to the model we might want to consider for our HR committee, bring it in line with, let's call it, standard industry or municipal sector practice?
I'm not asked specifically, but you are asking me. But as part of this work, what I would say is wholeheartedly, when we looked at the municipal benchmark survey, no one had a committee like your HR committee. Instead, issues of significance were directed to their council, and that's what I'm most familiar with, as well as a delegated authority to a CAO who was then held accountable by the council for the operations of the city.
Thank you, Jeff.
If I could just maybe add to Mr. McPherson's response to the mayor, Brian Hutchings, CEO. So on page 20, I think Jeff outlines that in the governance side where he talks about the HR committee and no other municipality surveyed. We do plan on bringing forth a report to the task force on task forces in September. We've been directed by council to do that. And we just, that committee just met, and we clarified that this HR governance suggestion will come to that committee in September.
Thank you. Any other questions for Jeff? Again, I just wanted to thank you for your work, and Anita and your team for pulling that all together for us. So seeing no other discussion, can we call the vote on the resolution on the floor?
All those in favor? That item carried.
Thank you. So the minutes have been dealt with. There are no resolutions for today, no notices of motion, and the meeting of the Human Resources Committee is now adjourned. Thank you.